to Creator Weekly Live for October 20th, 2024. I'm Peggy Kay, and today there are updates for YouTube, mostly for YouTube viewers, but there's some fun things around playlists. We have updates for Adobe. There are new features on Threads and X, and there's some more updates if there's time. So let's get started. If you're here live, welcome, and I hope you say hello in the chat. What do you think about this week's updates? Let me know. So to get started, this week, YouTube announced a whole slew of new features for mostly aimed at viewers. So there's a blog post. You can get all of this week's links and updates and information in my weekly newsletter and blog posts. There are links in the video description. Be sure to sign up to get all the updates in your inbox every Saturday. So the first update I wanted to talk about, which I think is pretty cool, is improved collaborative playlists on YouTube. I am showing this on desktop, but this is also available in the YouTube mobile app, and I believe the YouTube Music app as well. So here's how it works. You create a playlist that's public. I think you can also do it with unlisted playlists. You open it up either on YouTube, not YouTube Studio, but YouTube proper, or in the YouTube app. And then you can change the cover image. You can upload your own image, and you can add text or stickers to that. Or you can use AI to generate a cover image, although that's only available in the mobile app. And that's what I've done in this example. That's the science fiction squirrel. Who needs a better thumbnail than that? So once you have your playlist set up, you can click the three-dot menu icon and select the option to collaborate. And then you do that. It gives you some settings, and there's an invite link that you can send to people. They get the invite link, and then they can add videos to the playlist as well. This is a lot of fun if you're having a party and you want people to add music to the playlist, or if you have a project where you want all your collaborators to have the same videos. This is really, really useful. So there's this brand new interface, and it makes it a lot more friendly to do. You can give that a try right now. I wanted to mention they have a couple other features for the collaborative playlists that aren't quite available yet. One is a QR code to join the playlist that will show on TVs. So obviously, if there's a playlist on the TV, there's no easy way to click things on there. You can show a QR code. So you're having a party and you want people to add music. You put that up on your screen and everybody can join. The other thing that is not quite available yet, but that they showed in the announcement, is the ability to upvote and downvote items in the playlist. So you could have, your top videos, and you can ask your community to engage with that and say, which ones do I like the most, or which ones do they like the least? So those are some pretty cool features that are available with collaborative playlists now, or will be coming fairly soon. And I'd love to know, all of you in the chat, welcome. Do you use collaborative playlists? The feature itself isn't brand new. There have been collaborative playlists on YouTube for many years, but this is a really nice refresh of the interface, and the fact that you can add a cover image, it makes it much nicer. So I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Alrighty. So moving on to the other update that I think is kind of neat is badges. I mean, who doesn't love getting an achievement badge? So the idea is that in the YouTube mobile app, you can click the U icon. That's at bottom right. There'll be a badges option, and then you can get achievements. What they're talking about showing is you get a badge if the creator gives a heart to your comment on a video, or if you get quiz questions correct. And you guys should definitely be taking the quiz I have on my community tab. And it has a badge if you're a founding member, sort of one of the first people to do a paid membership, or another badge if you are one of the top listeners to a music artist. So these are fun, and everybody loves to get badges. But I think it's also good for creators as well, because this is encouraging engagement with the videos and encouraging people to join membership and so forth. So I think this is going to be a cool update. And I love that YouTube is adding these new features that are not only useful, but also help build your community. So Andrew says that he likes it, especially for most engaged viewers. Yes, I think that that is really pretty neat. So keep an eye on that. This will be available in the mobile app. I don't think it will show on desktop, so you'll have to keep an eye there. So I wanted to also mention that there are a whole bunch of other updates from YouTube this week. There is basically a total refresh of the interface. I think they said it's more dynamic. It will have bright pink highlights or something like that. So it may look slightly different. There's a more immersive view on TVs. That's one of the big areas of growth YouTube is seeing. Even for things like watching shorts, people are doing that on TVs, so they're making that experience better. You can fine-tune the playback speed. So if you like to watch your videos faster, instead of just choosing 2x, you could do it at 1.75x. So there's like more finer gradations. There's an improved mini player in the YouTube mobile app. This is what pops up. So you're watching a video in the mobile app, and then you want to like browse around while you're watching. The mini player keeps playing usually. Now you can customize that, so you can move the mini player around or resize it. And a really neat feature is a sleep timer. You go into the settings for a video and you can turn on the sleep timer. It basically just stops playing the videos after a set amount of time. So that is really useful if you fall asleep to watching YouTube videos. A whole bunch of updates. Some of these are available now. Some of them I think are still rolling out. You should definitely check that out. So Jolyn says, I enjoy the weekly quizzes. I'm glad. I kind of try to make them interesting and informative. You know, I make them like the quiz that I would like to take myself. So that's how I set them up. I think it's really cool that there will be a badge, you know, for getting the answers correct. Because right now, you just have to keep that in your memory or check out the community tab. So one other update I wanted to talk about for YouTube. And this is an important update. Again, this is aimed at viewers. So YouTube now may show a section in the video description that says how this content was made and indicate that the content was captured using a camera or other recording device. This is like the opposite of the label that says it's synthetic or generated. This is saying this video is straight out of the camera. And this is important Because there's big concerns, of course, around people fabricating videos, especially around news events. So you have a natural disaster or a big event, and it can be difficult to tell if the video is real or not. So um, how do you do this? So this, as far as I can tell, this is the only one video on YouTube that has this label. It's from TruePic. You can check it out itself. It kind of recreates the original I was at the zoo video. That was the first video on YouTube. But the idea is that you use metadata. So YouTube can detect metadata, which is this sort of invisible data attached to videos. And this has things usually like if it was straight from the camera, what camera was used, the date, sometimes the name, things like that. And there is an industry standard set by the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. That's a mouthful. They call it C2PA. And this is all the big AI companies: Adobe, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, TruePic, and some other companies. And they're actually creating this open standard, with the idea being that if there's certain metadata on a photo or video, everybody can read that and understand what it says. So the important thing here is that this metadata not only will say this has been generated, this has been manipulated, it can say this is straight out of the camera. And how can you get this? So YouTube has detailed information in the Help Center, but the short version is that you have to use a special camera that supports this. So you have a camera that supports this standard. It adds this metadata as you record. And if you edit that video, if you edit the visuals, if you edit the audio, it loses that metadata. So it's no longer straight out of the camera. And there's a lot of technical information about what you can and can't do. So this is brand new. Most cameras don't support this yet. Definitely phone cameras do not support this yet. And so most videos aren't going to have this label. Not having this label doesn't mean that the video isn't true. It just means that it doesn't have this data. But hopefully in the future, this will be something that's more widely used. So I think that's a neat update and an important one in the context of what we're seeing today with fake videos. So I wanted to point out, comment from the audience, help me to institution to build the YouTube viewer. Yeah, so that's a very broad question about building your YouTube viewership. Of course, what YouTube would say is make videos that people want to watch. And that's easier said than done, of course. So focus on making interesting videos and then make sure that they have a thumbnail and description and title that entices people to watch. And then you deliver on that promise when people watch the video. That is so broad. I know it doesn't really help that much because like, how do you do that? But that is a whole separate topic. I wanted to mention that last week I did a special segment looking at YouTube analytics for Braylon. If you have specific questions, I'm happy to try and have a segment about that. You can subscribe to my newsletter and then respond to that if you have a specific question. But it really helps if the question's really specific and not really broad. It's something that I can answer in about 5 minutes or so. So subscribe to my email newsletter, respond to that if you have a specific question, and I may be able to tackle that during the live stream. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit now. This week was Adobe Max. This is when Adobe makes a bunch of announcements. They made announcements on all their suite of tools. I'm not going to get into all that. That's a whole show in and of itself. But I wanted to point out they talked about updates to their Firefly model for generating video. So you can use text prompts or image prompts to generate video. And I think it's also interesting and important. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. It's also interesting and important that Adobe is really creator focused, so that you have so many companies these days that say, oh, we've got this brand new video generator. It's going to replace Hollywood. You no longer have to do any work. Adobe doesn't do that. It knows that its customers are creatives. So what they talk about is how their generative video can help you as a creator. They talk about using it to generate B-roll where you might use stock video, or you can use it to visualize camera shots before you actually go through all the work to film those shots. You can have placeholders for special effects. Also, you can use this to generate atmospheric elements, things like fire or smoke or light shining in. And then you can go into your video editor, like Adobe Premiere, and layer this with your other video image. So it's like adding sort of special effects, adding atmosphere. So these are really neat tools. It is not directly available yet, but you can sign up for the waiting list. And this is for using the text to video generator and the image to video, I think. This is at firefly.adobe.com. You can sign up to join the waiting list. And the other thing that they talked about related to this is that Adobe Premiere Pro, so this is their video editing software, has a new feature called Generative Extend. And what this does is uses generative AI to extend clips, both the video and the audio portion of clips. It can't do people talking, but it can do sort of ambient effects. So the idea is that if you're making a video and you have a clip and it's just not quite long enough, you can use this. It's just like click and drag, and it will kind of fill in a few seconds. Again, this is one of the things that Adobe is doing to help creators instead of replace creators. And one of the big things that Adobe does is they always say using their generative AI tools is commercially safe because they train the tools on licensed and clearly free to use content, unlike so many of the generative AI tools out there that basically just scanned everything that was publicly visible and is using that to generate content. And the problem is, of course, you use a lot of these AI tools, it might actually spit back something that is copyrighted or trademarked. That is not commercially safe. Adobe says theirs is commercially safe. So there's a big distinction there. All right, so I'm going to shift gears just a little bit to have a few smaller updates on social media this week. On Instagram, you can now create a profile card that you can customize. The idea is you have a card and then it kind of flips around. It has a QR code on it for people to use. You can add your own custom background. This is a photo that I took. Yeah, it looks nice. It's kind of good. I'm not sure when you use these sort of QR code based cards exactly, but it's available. Most of the platforms have them. YouTube lets you make a QR code. Everybody does. And the idea is people can just hold up their phone and use the camera and then go directly to the link. So that is the update on Instagram. On Threads, they made it an update that can affect your privacy, where now they will show a little green dot if you are online on Threads. And the idea is people can see when you're online and then comment, so you can comment back live. It's a little weird because Threads doesn't have private messages or anything like that, but I think this is supposed to make it more engaging. The important thing is you can go into your privacy settings and turn this off, or you can limit who can actually see it to people who follow you or people that follow you who follow you back, so that not everybody necessarily can see that you're online. Because some people get kind of weirdly demanding, like you're online on a platform and they think you should respond immediately, and that, no. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and you know, there are two updates to X this week, formerly Twitter, where people are not that happy about the updates. The first is an update to their terms and privacy policy. This goes into effect November 15th. So they give a month warning about this. And what people are really zooming in on, among other features, is that there is now a clause that says this license authorizes us to make your content available to the rest of the world and to let others do the same. Okay, they need that to show what you post when people go to the site. But then it also says you agree that this license includes the right for us to analyze text and other information you provide, and to otherwise provide, promote, and improve the services, including, for example, for use with and training of our machine learning and artificial intelligence models, whether generative or another type. So this is a pretty broad statement that says we're going to use your content to train our generative AI models. There is a setting in the X settings, but I think it just has to do specifically with Grok AI and keeping the chats you have with Grok AI, not using those for training. So this applies to everyone, except that I think X is not using content posted from people in Europe for training because of Europe's regulations. So this is making a lot of people not happy, especially people like artists who don't want their content used. There's a second update where X says they're changing the way blocking works. If your posts are set to public, accounts you have blocked will be able to view them. This is a big change because previously, if you block someone while they were signed into the account, they couldn't actually see your posts. And this case, they still won't be able to engage with your posts. And again, people aren't happy about this because a lot of people block because they don't want that person to kind of really follow them and screenshot what they're talking about and so forth. Interestingly, X says, oh, well, they're doing this because we don't want people to essentially be talking behind someone's back. And to what I understand, and what I use blocking for is because it's content I don't want to see. And I don't want to see any similar content. Other people use blocking so people can't see them. At least for people I interact with, they're not blocking because they want to like whisper secrets about the other person. But someone high up at X thinks that this is a serious problem. Of course, there is gossip. There's always gossip that this is because Elon Musk wants to see what his ex is saying about him on Twitter, although he could probably see that anyway without this change. I don't know. But what this is doing is encouraging people to leave the platform. And what we're seeing is kind of waves of exodus from X to other platforms. And there's a network effect, so that if a certain number of people in a particular group that always interacts moves to a different platform, everybody tends to move. And one of the big winners is Bluesky, which is pretty small still, but this past week they got a boost of like almost 1 million new users, which is huge for a platform that only has 12 million users. And this is from Google Play, the app chart from last night. Bluesky is in the top free apps. Threads is number 1. They probably also got a boost, but it's not as noticeable there. And so, the changes at X are chasing people away, and gradually people are moving on to other platforms. I think what we're seeing also is that people aren't all going to the same platform. So different people, different groups, different platforms, there's not one just place. So those were the updates I have for this week. Let me see. A question. If a live stream is on better to do video for advertising, I think you have to decide what you want to do. Live streams are great for getting engaged viewers, but if you just want to advertise, you usually just have a regular video on demand. An advertisement video is going to be constructed differently than a video that's for information or that's supposed to be interactive. So you have to decide what you're trying to do and then make your video optimized for that and see how it goes. I don't know much about YouTube advertising. I haven't actually used that. So those are the updates this week. And before I leave you all, I'll mention I'm doing another live stream immediately after this one. There'll be a short gap, 5 or 10 minutes. There will be a redirect. When I end the live stream here, you'll see a link to go to the other live stream. I'd love for you to join us. And I think it would be great. It's going to be 3 tech tips in 10 minutes. I have a really good tip. One that I like, although it may be one you're familiar with. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all next week.